Hey, it's GitHub is down, but still cannot update the PRs. But
Hello. Yeah, that's very good when it's um, work group day and GitHub is down. That's not good.
yeah, whenever GitHub is down, it's like it's the productivity hit on a lot of companies is pretty massive.
Yeah, that's true. Happy New Year, by the way. I think we
Yeah,
have
happy New
each
Year.
other.
How's the weather over in Switzerland?
It's surprisingly snowy. Like that doesn't mean much, but I mean we have snow in the mountain, but usually like when you're not in the mountain, there's little snow. But this year we did have a bit, so it's still a bit white outside, but now turning gradually more brown. So it's a bit how it is.
Yeah, it's we got a very cold December and snowy December in Chicago. That's outside of the uh, normal, I guess, last couple of years. But now it's much warmer than it was. We got just a tiny bit of snow yesterday, but it's like just some flurry, nothing much.
Yeah, when there's snow and it goes away, and you have like we it's still cold enough to freeze over here. So I was just out for a run, and it's insane. Like it's so dangerous. One wrong step, and you're done for the winter, I guess. So where's I think Michael should be around, but
Well, GitHub is down, so he doesn't get notification. Uh,
okay, let me reach out to him quickly by phone. Apparently, not only GitHub is down.
no, we haven't been meeting recently, but if there's nothing like pressing
One
to
second.
discuss, yeah.
Um, why is it stupid now? Hello? Hello, hello? Can you hear me?
Hi, Derek.
Hey,
Second, let me switch the camera.
Looks like we lost Pascalto.
Ah! No, he's coming. Are you coming? Yeah. I was in another meeting. Today's crazy meeting. Too many meetings.
Yeah.
Okay, and then that's joining.
Yeah, I was here before.
Yeah, so sorry. It was the meeting with
To reconnect.
too many meetings.
Yeah, same. No, I was connecting via phone, and then my phone didn't work anymore. Okay, sorry for
Yeah.
this.
So by the way, the updated Apollo Federation stuff for Shock that's coming with 16 end of February.
Nice.
Just saw the issue.
Yeah, it's. Uh, I think that some folks read the end of life announcements as incorrectly. It's just the binaries that I don't. So I don't want to keep patching stuff that goes like years back in the past. That's basically, yeah.
Yeah. No, just where is this thing? No. Okay. Are there any others? Or are we alone? So I have one issue today. Let's just dive in.
Scalar serialization type declaration.
Yes, I'm interested. It will be interesting to understand how Apollo does it. The idea that I have there is based on a spec proposal, actually. But let's quickly do the introduction. That everything is in order. Okay, let's get started. Let me remind you that by being here, we all agree to the GraphQL spec membership agreements and to the GraphQL code of conduct, the participation guideline, and the spec membership agreement. Also, let me remind you that everything is recorded and published on YouTube. Let's do a quick round of introduction. I'm Michael.
I'm Pascal.
And I'm Derek.
And I have one topic today, and that is the scalar serialization for federated systems. And let me actually quickly create a window here. So with custom scalars, like let's say we have this guy here, or this guy here, it's not actually clear what the shape of these things are. And that is important for one thing in the gateway, and that is actually the following spec section. It's here in the validation section. We actually validate the values, documents, operations, field arguments. I think arguments could be no values there. Values correct type. And what we validate is not if this scalar is, if 1 to 3 is allowed, but the validation actually checks is an int allowed for this argument, right? for instance, if you put a string in here, you have to reject that string. And this even makes sense on the gateway level because you don't want to do a subgraph request, then get a validation error back from the subgraph that says, okay, this should have been a string, because then you do a lot of work that you just don't need to do. And what we do in Fusion is that people can just say on these scalars, serialize as. And then I would have to lie. Then they have here type, which is, for instance, string. And these are the possible stack shapes that we have, like number, string. You can also combine them. This could be number and string. And this goes back to a spec proposal we talked about for the GraphQL's core spec, because that's a larger problem, that you don't know what the general shape of things is, where we discussed something like this, decimal S string. But I'm curious, how do you do it in federation? Like, do you have a directive for it, or is there a configuration for it if people bring custom scalars, or do you skip the validation and basically invoke the subgraph?
Yeah, we don't do much with the custom scalars. As far as I know, it's being passed as is. And
Passed
like
as is,
yeah,
and
so
then
we
it accepts in the subgraph, right?
yeah, so the router itself, I don't think it does much with the custom scalars. It's
Okay.
there was remember there was that specified by, I think, for custom scalars that GraphQL Java was trying to do, but that stuff is still not really well fleshed out. So
Yeah, that is on the other spectrum, right? That is for clients to know. And I worked with Martin a lot on that we get these scalar specifications both from Apollo and Cherry Cream on here.
yeah, so there was some added there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the scalars to grab, we now have a lot of these shapes here, but that's more for interoperability. If you want to work with Apollo and you want to use custom style types, then you could really go into the spec here and check that it's valid. For me, it's just so we can do this validation rules correct, that we kind of give the user the ability to tell us what the general shape is, right? And then the validation can kill off these things early.
Yeah, but it's still, like I still see issues with this because even like your example here about email address, right? Even if you say that this is a string, technically your parser would probably check if it's a valid email address, right? That there's like the at
No,
and there's domain and any of that. So that's I mean like that's what your servers, the subgraphs would expect, right? So yes,
no, it is actually the spec calls out that it's only the shape, it's not the content. So this still could be a wrong, like this float maybe constrained and says, I'm only allowing 1 to 2. But the validation that validates is the text, is the GraphQL text of the query. Is that correct? That is what we validate here. That's also the literal must be compatible, not valid. So the content still is wrong. That should happen at the execution time. So when it executes them, then we have the algorithm for coercing input values, right? That's in here. There, coercing variable values is there. And then when you go through the field coercion, the field execution, then you have the concrete arguments coercion. And in that step, we would then pass this. But this validation already rejects the whole query as invalid if it knows it cannot even parse it because it already has a different shape.
so it's kind of just optimization of when you want to do
Okay.
the extra validation before doing all the other work until you get there. Okay.
Yeah, it's because the source schema, like if you have an invalid query, right? You
Mm-hmm.
don't pass it on to the subgraphs already
Yeah.
because you know it's wrong. And this is just one part of these rules where you then just reject it. Otherwise, you have to inspect, like you're already in the execution mode at this point. You're starting to execute the actual query, like the query planner is already running, right? You plant this whole thing, but it actually can never run. You get a validation error, a 400 HTTP error code back from the subgraph.
Yeah.
And that is that can be like if a user doesn't specify this, we are also fine. We expect that this can do all of the cases. And then we also have to deal with the download errors. But in general, you can avoid that, right? And like what we do in Hot Chocolate in general now is we expose this directive in general, not only for when it's part of a federated system. We always now have this thing on here, and we always have on all scalars now also the specified by both things. And then so what I want to push for is that we allow this, like that we make this directive available in the composite schema specification, and then people can decide to have that and get an early exit, optimize this.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this has to be part of this spec, but I see the reasoning for it to have this extra basically validation, so you can skip all the other work if you already know that's not going to work. But yeah, it's you mentioned that there's actually the regular working group is also looking into that scalar decimal as string and stuff like that, or that's being looked at as well, or
No, it
uh,
died.
oh,
It's one
dying.
of the cool things, like one of the many things that has no champion anymore.
Gotcha.
Um,
Mm.
I'll get an opinion from Benji on for the core specification. Yeah, I would. It would have been interesting to know. Maybe Sachin can shine light on how the router actually, if you guys have something like a short circuit on this, or if you skip the rule for custom scalars entirely,
Yeah,
or if you
yeah.
skip the
I
rule.
don't think we do anything for custom scalars specifically because there's no inherent meaning what the custom scalar is supposed to represent, right? So it can be anything.
Yeah, yeah. It's mainly if, like, from the GraphQL spec point, the GraphQL the query text would be invalid
Hmm.
if you have a wrong shape for the value.
Hmm.
That's what it kind of validates, and that would also mean you could have a better JSON validation of the variables. You also could kind of reject the query at the gateway level already. If you see, for instance, you send an int for a string in the JSON, it adds defensiveness to the gateway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll bring it up to folks, but yeah, I'm not sure if this has to be part of the composite schema spec per se, but I do see it a value for the router to have some sort of a hint mechanism to improve of understanding of the queries whenever, just parse it out into a valid thing and just reject it if it's invalid ahead of time. Um, so I see the value for it. I'm just questioning whether this should be part of the composite schemas spec per se, because that sounds like more of a general overall like GraphQL concern itself, right? Because it doesn't matter if it's a gateway or if it's
Yeah,
subgraph, right?
not really like when you are the client, right? You
Hmm.
don't need a kind. You typically you work together with the gateway, not with the gateway, with the backend. So you know what kind of custom types you're using, right? So you can optimize the client and use the right libraries for it. But with the gateway, you cannot do that. So you need a mechanism to tell the gateway actually about these shapes. This could be a JSON. This could be, but again, like we have everything that we configure the gateway with is a directive.
Hmm.
So you could say for automatic client code generator, it could be also valuable because you knew, right? You don't know what the meaning is, but you knew it would be a string. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it has value outside of the spec, outside of the composite schema spec. I'll talk to Benji and ask him what he thinks, where we should put it. Maybe he says, yeah, we should push it over the standard spec and make it a keyword.
Question. The if it's, I mean, the benefit of it being a keyword is that you could use AST for defining the shape, because
Yeah.
you could say that it's a nested array, for example, a nested list. When you could use, like, you could say as string and then you could wrap string in brackets, so you know that that symbol would be an array of string. For example, when you have think about GeoJSON, you have
Yeah, no, it's not so easy because like, what do you do with what do you do with any?
doesn't matter actually, because
With any, you would need to do something like this.
yeah, but it doesn't really matter, right? Because with any, it could also be just
There's no wrapping of brackets. I mean, it's not the type syntax
right.
because it cannot be any type. Like the type syntax that you have in GraphQL could, for instance, say product, but that is never valid for a scalar. You don't even want to know that. What you want to know is the fundamental serialization types that you have. What object value type can this be?
So
And
there was a proposal, I think, from Benji about the value types, right? That was actually trying to address shortcomings, some of those scalars. Um,
you
is
mean
that
the
something
struct?
related? Yeah, the
You mean
struct thing.
struct?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But this is a whole different concept. Like Benji, oh, but you're right. It goes into the direction when we talk about any types. When we talk about any types, and we often do these things when you could have something like a struct, which formalizes this, but it doesn't formalize this, right? If it's a string one,
Mhm.
and it just says, okay, you can have object structures that are kind of like an atom. You don't have any selection set semantics on it. It's just one leaf value. even though it's an object. And with that, you can type what is in an any. So what we can do today is basically say, okay, there's an any type, and this any type has this shape, right? And with struct, you could say, this is not an any type, actually. This is a product scalar, and or it's a GeoJSON scalar, and this is the shape.
Yeah.
But I will bring it up and see what we like, if it makes sense to bring it into the core spec or add it as an optional scale, an optional directive more in the composite schema spec.
Yeah, the reason I'm thinking it's more of a general GraphQL thing is it seems useful for any server, right? So if you have some extra validations when you're parsing the queries, right? If you know that the shape is wrong, you can reject it without doing all the other work happens afterwards, right? So it's kind of it's if you have a public API and you have a just monolith or just regular graph, it's still valid and useful thing to do, right? If you can skip some stuff there. Obviously, with the composite schemas with the federation, right? You have the query planner, which is a heavy process or could be heavy process, right? That you want to even skip that even more. There's a bigger reason why you would want to avoid doing that computation. But for regular servers, I think still there's some value, I guess.
Yeah, but for regular servers, you have on the scalar implementation is value literal compatible function, which you can call, and it tells you if the shape is wrong. Like this validation rule that we have in GraphQL here, because you have the scalar implementation in a normal GraphQL server, you can just ask the scalar implementation, does it fit?
Yeah.
And it will reject it. That's why, like, it's specifically like what benefits from this is client code generators that generate you the models for the data that you are fetching, and gateways. These two will benefit from knowing the shape. We should
wouldn't the shape for the clients be more of a from the specified by spec?
That is the absolute shape. Like if you let's say, like in the client, you often have a two-pronged approach, right? You completely understand what you're getting, and then we could put the absolute right shape in. Like for GeoJSON, it could be a geometry object. But if you don't know that, then you would get the fundamental type still, the transport type, which could be a string, right? Then you at least get the string and not an object, like in any.
Mm-hmm.
So you could still, with serialized as, you can still generate these things and understand these things, even if you don't fully understand the inner workings of the type. You still get the type right that it's meant to be. That is the thing that you get there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I have to think about it a little more, but oh, I see the value, but I'm just not sure if this should be part of the composite schema spec per se. But that's the only concern, kind of, from my side.
Yeah. Awesome. That was it from my side. Do we have anything else? Otherwise, we can close early. Was good to get back together again. So we have a lot of spec work to do still. So I will change the cadence. I think I will align it with the other working groups that we have a once-a-month meeting. And then we can do meetings ad hoc if we need more. What do you guys think?
Sounds reasonable. Based on the, just observation of the last couple months. I know it's end of the year and all those things, but
Yeah.
we did skip quite a few. So definitely putting something like every week that might be too much.
Yeah, at the moment, because we
Yeah.
discussed most things are clear now. Like there is a lot of work on the
We could
backlog.
start with the bi-weekly or just go to a monthly thing. I'm fine with
Yeah.
either way.
Yeah, I post something in the Slack and ask the others, and then we can decide on the cadence.
Yeah, but definitely like a weekly thing might be too much. But
Yeah. Awesome. Then, cheers, everyone.
see you
See you
around.
later. Bye.
Goodbye.